A couple times maybe, or like longer? Okay. Okay. Hey, I'm wearing yellow. It's in here somewhere. That's right. Morning. Good morning.
the beautiful faces in the sanctuary, and good morning now that I'm really loud out in Facebook land. We are so glad that you've all joined us this morning. Unity of Palmyra is an open and affirming congregation. We love you just the way we are. And we embrace a positive path for spiritual living. Not always as easy as it sounds, is it? To always look for the pony, to always look on the bright side of life. But we are committed to doing absolutely just that. So if this is your first time here, welcome. We are so happy that you found us. We have a whole bunch of information about us on our website, and we also do have some visitors packets that we can get to you with specific information about Unity of Palmyra, understanding that we are redoing a lot of that information after the last year. So we are going with the flow here at Unity of Palmyra. We are going with the flow of spirit. We are going with the flow of truth as we slowly reopen and figure out what spiritual community is going to look like moving forward. We're going to talk more about that at the Hug meeting, so please do stay for that there. I've already gotten one of the announcements out of the way this morning. So let's take a nice, big, deep breath. And exhale. And one more of those. Let's use this breath to become fully present. Wherever we are, wherever our physical body is, we invite your spirit and your attention and your presence to be here now. To let go of any distractions, to let go of anything that will get in the way of you accepting the gift of this time. The gift of this time together, the gift of whatever inspires you, whatever you take away from this next hour together. We offer it freely, and we invite you to accept it. And so we come together this morning with wide open hearts and minds. We acknowledge that we are living in an ever-changing universe. And so this morning we explore the power of going within and accessing that deep inner well of wisdom that each one of us has. Of coming apart, of going into the silence, of setting the intention for deep listening. And so as always, we enter into this time together with gratitude as we say thank you for this time. Thank you for whatever space you are in this morning, and most especially, thank you for one another. And so it is. Amen. All right, let's stand and sing.
It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. It's in every one of us. I just remember, it's like I've been sleeping for years. I'm not awake as I can be, but my seeing is better. I can see through the tears. I've been realizing that scenery and lights, and a cast of thousands who all know what I know. And it's good that it's so. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. It's in every one of us, by and by.
Oh, that was so sweet. Thank you. Let's share together in our vision. Centered in love, we embrace a positive path for spiritual living. And our mission, wherever we are, we provide a welcoming community that inspires and encourages all who gather here through the teaching, sharing, and practice of universal spiritual principles. So, welcome back to Hugs and Handshakes. Remember, all the old rules apply. If you want to hug, we will bring it in. If you want a handshake, please honor that. And if you don't want us to bother you at all, just stay where you are and wave, and we will honor that also. So have a great time.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Oh, and I hope you can feel that in this space, that your soul is welcome here, as well as all the rest of your parts that we love. Have a seat. One of the things I love about unity is, is we embrace both our spiritual nature and our humanity. It's so important that we don't deny either and that we embrace both. So, a couple of announcements. Our prayer chaplains today are Sherry Fries, who is in the sanctuary, and Leslie Burris is holding space for us at home. And Sherry will be off to the side of the sanctuary after the service. We are resuming our after prayer time. So if you want one-on-one prayer with Sherry, please do go over to that side, and we'll all go this way so you all have privacy. There is a hug meeting today after the service, and if you can stay, that would be great, because the council is actually going to bring up several things that we've been discussing, and a lot of them have to do with what do we want to start putting back into the service? What we're kind of deciding over the last year we really don't need in the service. So we would love to get your input into that. So if you can stay, and we will also be Zooming it. So if you're watching from home, please feel free. About 11:45-ish, we will jump onto Zoom so that you can join us in the sanctuary. The yard sale is July 16th and 17th, and many of us have already been shopping, and many of us have been cut off. So that would be me. I've reached my max. I splurged on something I love down there, so I maxed out. The volunteer sheet to sign up to help is on what used to be the sign-up table. That's now the prayer table, and of course that may be adjusting too, right? But for right now, if you want to sign up to help on the 16th and 17th, we would love your support. It's really important, especially on the 17th, if you can sign up toward the end of the day, because if past yard sales are any indication, by about 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon, the yard sale team put a fork in them, they'll be done, okay? And they're really going to need our support to wrap up and get everything ready to be picked up. So please do sign up for that. Also a reminder that now we do, this is the big version, but we do have Daily Words available in the bookstore for sale. And of course we didn't sell many last year, but we didn't want our subscription to lapse. So if you do want a July, August Daily Word, they are for sale in the bookstore, and I think they're like $4.95 or something. But anyway, it's in the bookstore, and you guys can figure that out. Next Sunday, we've been talking about this for a while. We have we have a great workshop. That's going to be 1:30 to 4:30, and in just a second, we're going to show you a 1-minute promo that my friend Reverend Pat Venema put together for you. And then that evening, we have a round table. Is it Tanya Lovelace? Am I saying that right? And this has been put together and it's being promoted by our spiritual social activism team, and we have invited several outside groups and organizations to jump on and join this. The Eventbrite link has been in your weekly email. It's going to be awesome. It's 7 p.m. Both of these next Sunday are via Zoom, so you can go home, have lunch, jump onto Pat's workshop, get off of Pat's workshop, have dinner, and jump onto the round table at 7 o'clock. Just mark off the whole day next Sunday for Unity. So I think the yard sale team didn't have anything else for me, right? So we're good with that. So Dan, if you would like to pull up Pat's invitation.
Hey everyone, this is Rev Pat Venema here. I'm inviting you to the workshop that your church is sponsoring next Sunday. This is a conversation that we'll have for Sunday afternoon about spiral dynamics and taking it a step further from what you've already discussed into how Unity is teaching integral practices. Unity has been providing modern and postmodern ideas for a while, and I am going to invite you to look at how those ideas are played out in your congregation, as well as how the integral practice is also playing out with Unity teachings. I look forward to having lots of juicy conversations with you, lots of breakout groups where you can talk about things together, and then come back and share the ideas and allow me to give you some of my insights about the Unity movement and our teachings. I think that we're going to have a great time, an engaging time, and I look forward to seeing every one of you there. Until then, namaste, be well. Bye-bye.
So I think we're going to have some juicy conversation during that workshop. We're going to be looking, she's going to do just a brief review of spiral dynamics, but not spend a great deal of time on that. And then we're really going to look at where does Unity fall within that evolutionary model. And Pat and I have also been in the conversation just between the two of us, well, and now everyone watching. Is Unity integral Christianity, which is a whole new thing, or thing that we're recognizing, Or is unity integral new thought? And what does that mean? And which of those has the biggest umbrella for that? And how does that apply to our beliefs and our principles and our congregations? And if our private conversations are any indication, this workshop is going to be awesome. So I do invite you. The registration link was in last week's weekly email. It will be again in this week's weekly email. Some of you had already paid before we created the registration link, so please do still register so that you get the Zoom link for the workshop, but I'm very, very excited about it. So, Miss Linda, would you like to read the daily word, which we agreed is practically perfect for today? Yes.
Happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there and daughters and sons of fathers. Our words for today are father's love. I give thanks for my father and all expressions of fatherly love. I treasure my childhood memories of feeling safe when my father or a father figure in my life was nearby. I remember my father's encouragement as I was learning to ride a bike, as we explored the wonders of nature together, and as he taught me to use money wisely. Even when I made youthful mistakes, my father's sometimes stern but always wise judgment helped me find the way back to my right path. I give thanks for both the sacred human and the unfolding expression of God within my father and everyone who has blessed me with fatherly love. Today, I pray for my father and for all fathers, affirming for each of them growing wisdom, understanding, and willingness to nurture others with a father's encouraging love. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. From John 15:9.
I am home, my family is here. I feel loved by the ones I hold so dear. And when my family needs me, I promise to be there. And when I need my family, I'm lifted up in prayer.
So one of the things we're going to talk about at the Hug meeting today is, do we want to re-implement me coming into the sanctuary and praying with you individually, which I had been doing for several years, and I love doing it, and obviously we could not do that during the pandemic or when we had to keep our distance. So I just want to give you a heads up. That is going to be on the agenda for the Hug meeting, and I'd love to hear from you what you would like us to do moving forward. So let's all now take a nice big deep breath and reflect on today's daily word as we honor our fathers. And we honor those who fathered us, who nurtured us with that masculine energy. And we also acknowledge that for some of us, that father-child experience was not completely positive or a joyous experience or a healthy experience. And so we hold that past experience, or even the current situation involving a father or a father figure, we hold that very tenderly in this space. And we hold the possibility for healing, maybe even some forgiveness, for learning, and for a deep appreciation that regardless of the quality of the relationship, that we learned something from it, that it in some way contributed to our growth, whether it was learning what to do or learning what not to do in our own lives. So for those of us who had positive fathers in our lives. Some of us had more than one. We are grateful for that experience. We are grateful for the wisdom, the learning, the humanity, the guidance. And for those of us who didn't, we are willing to find something to be grateful for, no matter how small, as we create this container for healing and moving forward, for letting go, for claiming the good, not denying the bad, but willing perhaps to reframe it in such a way that we can find something to appreciate. And widening the scope, we acknowledge the importance of masculine energy in the world, of that importance of the integration and the balance of masculine and feminine energies, and the acknowledgement that we all contain both. And in order to fully express our wholeness, we need to be willing to acknowledge and integrate both. And so whether this conversation brings to mind an actual parent or a metaphorical experience, I invite you to be open to it, to move into that place of gratitude for whatever masculine influence we have had in our lives. And so we say, thank you, sweet spirit, and namaste.
The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. You are beautiful. You are whole. You are beautiful. You are whole. Just the other night, at a hometown football game, my wife and I ran into my old high school flame. And as I introduced them, the past came back to me, and I couldn't help but think of the way things used to be. She was the one that I'd wanted for all time, and each night I'd spend praying that God would make her mine. And if he'd only grant me this wish I wished back then, I'd never ask for anything again. Sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. Remember when you're talking to the man upstairs, that just because he doesn't answer doesn't mean he don't care. Some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers.
wasn't quite the angel that I remembered in my dreams, and I could tell the time had changed me. In her eyes too it seemed. We tried to talk about the old days, there wasn't much we could recall. I guess the Lord knows what He's doing after all. And as I walked away, I looked at my wife, and then and there I thanked the good Lord for the gifts in my life. Sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. Remember when you're talking to the man upstairs, that just because he may not answer doesn't mean he don't care. Some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered. Some of God's greatest gifts are all too often unanswered. Some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. Thank you, and happy Father's Day, everybody.
So thank you for inviting us to your recital last week. That was awesome. It was awesome. It was our very first, and Jody's voice teacher acknowledges this was our very first adult recital. Like usually when you go to a piano or a voice recital, it's little kids or teenagers. These were all adults. Well, one was pretty young. They were pretty awesome. But it was amazing. It was so amazing to see these adults totally step out of their comfort zone and get up there without a microphone. They weren't allowed microphones, and sing their hearts out. It was awesome, just awesome. You are so welcome. And of course, Jody was the best. I know we're not supposed to say that, but in my humble opinion. Okay, so let's get on to the talk and our interviewee for the day. So welcome back to the 12 Powers. This is our third spiritual power. This is the power of wisdom. So the dictionary defines wisdom as knowledge and good judgment based on experience or being wise, which is kind of cheating because that's using the word. But anyway, wise implies having knowledge and understanding of people and of what is true and right in life and conduct. Isn't that interesting? So wise is it's not just about knowledge. It's about understanding human nature. And it's also showing sound judgment in applying such knowledge. So in the 12 Powers of Man, Charles Fillmore says, wisdom includes judgment, discrimination, intuition, and all the departments of mind that come under the head of knowing. Wisdom is sometimes referred to as judgment, or in this case, good judgment. So wisdom is making wise choices. It's learning to balance our information and our knowledge with our intuition. So sometimes when I'm teaching the 12 Powers, people say, well, but we've been taught that judgment is bad. Like, don't judge, judge not lest ye be judged, all right? So we're not talking about that kind of judgment. And actually, a more accurate interpretation of that scripture is condemn not lest ye be condemned. So that brings a whole different energy to it, doesn't it? Judgment is actually our ability to discern. So think when I say the word judgment, when we pepper this talk and interview with the word judgment, think discernment. Wisdom is the ability to discern. Wisdom seeks truth. Wisdom seeks to only do the right thing. So whereas condemnation is looking to make someone wrong, Wisdom is always looking for that win-win. How can we both be right? Again, back to wisdom understands human nature. Wisdom sees into the heart of people. So wisdom is making wise choices. Wisdom is most often associated with love. In fact, once again, I think this is interesting how Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of the Unity Movement, who discerned these 12 abilities, these 12 capacities, he grouped together the apostles he assigned as brothers. So wisdom and love are grouped together, and these are the wisdom is James, and John is the apostle that represents love, and we'll talk more about love next week, and thank God I have more pink to wear than I had yellow to wear. Next week's color is pink, by the way. So the combination of wisdom and love really gets to the heart of wisdom, pun intended, because wisdom is that connecting of head and heart. It's that connecting of our intellect and our love. And it's really important that we pair these two, because wisdom without love can become very pedantic. It can become very academic, right? But love without wisdom can become a little codependent, or it can become a lot codependent and make unwise choices. Years ago, I heard James Trapp, who was a former president and CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries, he once said, "There is information that informs, and there is information that transforms. Wisdom is information that transforms." So wisdom and love help us to see outside of ourselves, beyond what we thought we knew, beyond what we thought we were capable of. When I do my 12 Powers Reel to Reel series, the movie that I use for wisdom is The Empire Strikes Back. Why do you think I use The Empire Strikes Back for wisdom? Because who stars in The Empire Strikes Back? Yoda, right? Yoda is such a great example of wisdom, because Yoda, remember when Luke first met Yoda, he didn't think he was the great Jedi Master. Remember, he was actually insulting Yoda while he was looking for the great Jedi Master. And Luke's first lesson from Yoda was, don't judge by appearances. Judge me by my size, do you? Right? So that's wisdom. It helps us to see beyond appearances. So King Solomon was a great example of wisdom in action. Charles Fillmore says, Solomon, when asked by the Lord what he should give him, chose wisdom above riches and honor. Then all other things were added. Solomon was also a great judge, capital J, actual judge. He had a rare intuition, and he used it freely in arriving at his judgments. He did not rest his investigations on mere facts, but sought out the inner motives. In the case of the two women who claimed the same infant, he commanded an attendant to bring a sword and cut the child in half and give a half to each woman. Of course, the real mother begged him not to do this, and he knew at once that she was the mother. Solomon demonstrating that understanding of human nature, understanding the love of the real mother. So we talk a lot in Unity about our inner voice of wisdom, right? Go within, and in fact, we're going to go into the silence in our meditation today. Sometimes it's hard to discern the difference between our inner voice of wisdom and that incessant chatter in our head. Anybody else have a hard time sometimes? So one of the terms for that incessant chatter is monkey mind. If you've done any studying or coaching with me, you know what's coming. So there's a really big difference in energy between our inner voice of wisdom and our monkey mind. And that difference in energy is this. Monkey mind has a real sense of urgency. And when monkey's chattering and telling us every possible thing that could go wrong, we feel like this tightness, right? There's this tension in our body. There's a stress. There's no sense of spaciousness or possibility. But when it's our inner voice of wisdom, when we can get still and go within and tap into all of these 12 powers, right? When we can tap into the wisdom and the love and the power and the imagination and all of these, the strength, the energy feels completely different. There's a calmness, there's a certainty, there's an openness, there's a spaciousness to that voice. That voice will never frighten you. That's our inner voice of wisdom. Our inner voice of wisdom also has a gentle sense of good humor, right? Not sarcasm, not snarkiness. That's not funny. But our inner voice of wisdom has a lightness to it and can see the joy in the situation. Matthew Fox wrote, "When we are joyous and full of heart, we are emanating wisdom. Wisdom is not in the head, but in the heart and gut, where compassion is felt." So, not that I want to argue with Matthew Fox, but I would say it is head, heart, and gut where wisdom is felt. So, Miss Linda, you ready? I am ready. Can I tell a story on you? Come on up, and I'm going to tell us a story on you. And you're going to switch microphones now. There's your microphone. So every week, just so you don't think that I'm popping these questions on our interviewees, every week around Wednesday or Thursday, I send them the questions that I've kind of come up with, for their particular interview. And so we were all over here Friday afternoon doing some projects, and Linda said, "Thank you so much for those questions." And I said, "Oh, no problem." And she said, "So when do you send the answers?"
She didn't.
Which is a classic Linda for anyone who knows Linda, and a demonstration of wisdom, right? Because wisdom is willing to seek out the answers. How's that? How's that for a segue?
Sounds good.
Does that sound good? See, you are so wise. Let's go with that. Okay, so let's get started. And as you will. There you go. Okay, all right. I love it when the sound guys are waving frantically at me from the back of the room and I'm not paying any attention to them. Okay, so question number one, and as always, we may not get through all of these because we're just going to have a conversation. Okay. There are no wrong answers to this. Okay, good. So, wisdom has been defined as knowledge and good judgment based on experience. Charles Fillmore defined wisdom as judgment, discrimination, and intuition. Paul Hasselbeck adds discernment. So what is your definition or understanding of wisdom?
I think Hasselbeck also in his book indicated that it's the application, what is known, applying what is known, based on a set of spiritual or higher principles. Mm-hmm. And I really like that little sentence. I think that puts it in perspective with knowledge and compassion. That would be my second definition, with knowledge based on or wrapped in compassion.
That's brilliant. And I think it also speaks to the difference between principles and rules.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So wisdom is not as interested in, following the rules as it is to being in integrity and in alignment with principle. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good answer. Oh, my gosh. See, I didn't need to send you the answers. Okay. So Matthew Fox wrote, "When we are joyous and full of heart, we are emanating wisdom. Wisdom is not in the head, but in the heart and gut where compassion is felt." Or is wisdom a connection of head and heart? And you kind of started to address that.
Yeah. I really think it's the three. When we were doing the study, Hasselbeck assigned a certain part of the body to each power, and the part of the body for wisdom was the gut, or the solar plexus, which sounds more wise. But
well, it sounds fancier.
It does sound fancier.
It's fancier.
Yeah. So that connection between the gut, does it feel right? And certainly the head with the knowledge, and the heart with the compassion. Those three, I think, are integral to being wise or using wise judgment. So I would say the 3 for me.
Yeah, because if we take each one of those separately, monkey could mess with us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because monkey can mess with our head by bringing in all sorts of data that's not important, right? And monkey can mess with our heart by having us be maybe a little enabling when we shouldn't be. And monkey can even mess with our gut a little bit. Well, you know, if it feels right, do it. Well, does it really feel right, or am I trying to justify doing something I know I shouldn't do? But when we combine all 3 of those, yeah, that's the power combination.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting and a good observation. That was something I learned, that when I first was delving into wisdom, because that was the power I was studying, and I thought that connection was very important. Because at first I thought wise, wisdom, it's up here, it's all knowing. The more you know, the more you study, and with true wisdom, it's the other 2 areas play an equally important role.
Yeah, and I've seen somewhere another definition where sometimes true wisdom comes with unlearning what we've learned.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah, that sometimes true wisdom comes when we let go of what we think we know. And then that gets back to Fillmore's observation that wisdom helps us to see beyond appearances, beyond what we think we know. Because I mean, like with Solomon, who would have thought that, you know, threatening to cut the baby in half would have been a good idea, right? Yeah. I personally would not have thought that would have been a good idea. And yet, it was brilliant, and it showed great wisdom, because again, back to human nature. Yeah, that's good. So, back to the class, when you drew wisdom out of the bowl, was it a bowl or a basket? I can't remember.
I think it was a basket.
A basket. So you drew wisdom out of the basket. Just so when we taught the class, they drew the power, and then they were tasked with teaching that power to the class. So they really had to study it deeply in order to teach it. So what else did you learn, or what surprised you when you studied wisdom to prepare?
Well, as I had mentioned, it was the fact that it's not just about knowledge, the connection with compassion. I think the fact that wisdom involves, I think the unlearning. I thought that was interesting that you just said that. That wasn't something that I had picked up in the book, but that, in general, I think that, you know, how willing are you to be open to things? And the other part was the judgmental part of it. I think as a Christian, we often use judgment in a negative way. And that to me it was okay to use the word judgment because he put a very positive spin on it. And he pointed out that we judge all the time. We're a judgy people. I mean, if we don't judge, we probably don't get anything done. You judge, today you judge what yellow do I have to wear, and, you know, look in your closet
Or had
for
to
that.
buy something.
Or had to go out and buy something, right. So we certainly need to have judgment, but sound judgment. So I appreciated his pointing out that, yes, indeed we do judge, and probably we need to judge to be functional. But it's how we judge, and I know my father used to say, it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say it. And I think that was very true with judging something or someone or some action.
Yeah, and I think the kind of judgment you're talking about is what he calls discernment.
Yes.
Right.
And I like that word
Yeah,
that he used
yeah.
in place of judgment.
Yeah. And I also like that we're exploring the word, because it's important to recognize that we do have some energy around certain words, and they're just words.
Yes.
Right? So I like the fact that the power of wisdom kind of pushes us ever so gently into exploring the word judgment and the judgments we may be holding. Right? Yeah.
Right. I also certainly was drawn to the power of love being connected with judgment. And I think that really goes a long way to help to get away from the negative judgment of judging.
Right, which is the condemning.
Yes.
That, yeah,
Yes.
which was
Yeah.
actually the more accurate interpretation.
Right. And
so.
we've often, I mean, I've often, not often said, but you and I have joked about we only judge judgy people.
Right, we only judge judgmental
Yeah,
people.
yes,
That's right, that's right.
Because we can't stand that.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that during Sunday's workshop, by the way, because that's part of Inspiral Dynamics, what's called the mean green meme, that we are so proud of being non-judgmental that we only judge judgmental people.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So one of, and I did bring Yoda up because I'm sorry, I just could not pass up the opportunity. So Yoda always ends up on my heroes list as an example of someone who's wise. So who would you, like, do you have a particular, I know you speak very highly of your father. But,
Honestly, I didn't even give a thought that today is Father's Day.
yeah.
But when I was looking at the questions, immediately my father popped into my head.
Yeah.
And he was such, well, again, we're using the word to describe a word, but he was such a wise man. I looked up to him my whole life. And he had a sense of humor that went along with most things he did, most opinions that he had. But I knew, my sister knew, and he was a teacher, those students knew when he was serious, when he was speaking. And I would just say the truth. I think he spoke the truth from some kind of a higher sense of self. Because I looked at him when I was younger as infallible. Certainly, I've grown and noticed he wasn't.
It's always a jolt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a shock.
Yeah, they're
But,
human. Yeah.
Even with his disciplining, it was done with wise counsel. And it wasn't done so that I was afraid of what might come down on me. It was more done where I ended up being afraid that I would disappoint him. So I really loved his style. He did the same thing with his students. I happened to have been in his chemistry class because he was the only chemistry teacher then. And I thoroughly enjoyed him as a teacher. It was neat to have see my father to be who he was in a different setting outside of family. He taught treated many students as his children. And that, to me, was so important, and they felt that. We had students at our house, and, they'd come over to watch ball games and, take them hunting and, whatever. But he just had that connection, and I call that wisdom.
I just love hearing you talk about him.
Oh,
It
was a
sounds
wonderful
like
man.
it sounds like he was a father figure to many people other than
Yes.
just you and your sister, and it also sounds like he really embodied that integration of head and heart and gut.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I just couldn't be prouder.
Isn't it perfect that this is Father's
Oh my
Day?
gosh.
It's almost
Yeah.
like divine order or something.
I don't know, but
That's coming up in July, but yeah. But we'll refer back to this when we talk about. So the last thing I just can't talk about wisdom without bringing up my friend Cindy, because I just adore my friend Cindy Wigglesworth, and so and I might bring this up again next week, because she defines love as a two-winged bird, and the wings are compassion and wisdom. And she invites us to see wisdom as the highest expression. So she says data starts that spectrum, like the evidence, right? And then information is the sorted data, so that gives us information. And then knowledge is applied information. I'll drop these in your notes in the group, by the way. But then wisdom, and I love this, is where knowledge is guided by compassion, right? So back again to the head, heart, gut. So last question, where have we needed to have that knowledge guided by compassion over the past year? Or
Oh
where
my
have you
gosh.
seen that we've demonstrated it maybe?
I think for me, and probably, I'll speak to the pandemic then in a minute, but I would have to go back to the political climate and where I have needed to be wise, where I wasn't getting caught up in the negativity. I pulled back on what news I was watching, how much news I was watching, how I was judging people that necessarily didn't agree with me. And there were lots of those cases out there. But when you put the person with the action and get the emotion part into it, it was a little bit easier to stay on course in a loving way. So that was one area.
So that was an example of wisdom understanding human nature, in that this person I'm judging may have an opinion, but that opinion is not the totality of that
Yeah,
human being.
Absolutely.
Right,
And
got
that's,
it, got
that's
it.
a work in
That was
progress
very
for me.
wise.
Well, it's
Hard
still
work,
working,
but
hard work.
wise.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other thing was, of course, with the pandemic, somehow I knew, and I think it was just listening to the science and the people, the CDC, that this would not be a forever thing, that we would come through this on the other side, and it kept me light during the time. Now, of course, it helped, and I have to acknowledge this, that I have been retired, so I wasn't necessarily worried about juggling a job and family. And so there were other factors that I understood that I did not have to deal with. But even so, just that hanging over your head, you know, pretty much isolating into staying at the house, not being able to go out. One of my passions is going out to eat. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it doesn't matter. Sometimes twice in one day. I tried to leave a little time between breakfast and dinner, so I didn't always go to the three of them. But I missed that terribly. I really did, and that was something.
So you had to cook, was that? Or take out?
In a matter of speaking. Yes. And I did like to patronize the places that I knew were hurting. So yes, I took quite a bit of takeout. And part of that was to help them out, but to help myself as well. But I think just following the science and knowing that and following a higher knowledge, knowing that I would get through this. So I think that was a part of it.
Yes, so you just spoke to all three of the components we've been talking about. Your head said, I'm following the science. Your heart said, I have the faith that I'm going to get through this. And your gut just knew it. Your gut just said, this is not going to be endless. I'm head, heart, gut. We're going to get through this. And you held it lightly, which is an indication that you were listening to your inner voice of wisdom, because that has that lightness of energy, right? And obviously your gentle good humor came through all year also.
Well, and I played a lot of games with my partner. We did a lot of board games and other games, and
I was going to ask
that
if
was
you made
important.
Gina cook it all over the year, but
no,
okay.
it wasn't. That wouldn't have been a good idea. That wouldn't have been wise. So,
and she's not judging that. That was her wisdom speaking. That was that was awesome. It was awesome. See, you didn't need me to give you the answers. You did great. Can we thank Linda? She did great. So you can stay up here during the meditation. You can sit down. You can do whatever you want.
I'm going to take a drink and go down.
Okay. You can even take it with you. It's yours. That's your drink for the day.
I'll leave it here.
Okay. And thank you to the yard sale for donating as a set of glasses to the church. What would we do without the yard sale?
Absolutely.
Thank you, honey. That was awesome. All right, Janie, take us into the silence.
In the silence, there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. Love is there, and in the silence, where every color blends and every rainbow ends, good is there. In the light, now you find that you know peace of mind. And in the silence, your path is paved with gold, and all your dreams unfold. Love is there. Peace is there. Truth is there. God is there.
So I invite you to close your eyes, to signal to the world that you are coming apart for a while. That you are going within. You are going within to find that place of quiet, to find that place of sweet silence, to find that place that is so still that you can hear that quiet voice of wisdom. For our voice of wisdom will not yell to get our attention. It will not demand or stamp its foot. Our inner voice of wisdom will whisper, will invite us to get so quiet, so quiet, and so still. That sweet, compassionate, spacious, generous voice of wisdom comes through so clearly. And when we hear it, and we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is the full integration of our head and our heart and our gut combining, we stop and we listen. So I invite you for just a moment or two in the silence to listen. If you are experiencing anything challenging, or if you have any question that has been weighing on your heart, I invite you to bring it into this space. As each of our individual energies combines through that golden web that connects us all, it also connects our wisdom. As we allow the wisdom in this room, in this sacred space, to fill each one of us. As we acknowledge with gratitude the wisdom of this community, the wisdom of the beliefs and principles we hold so dear, and the wisdom of the indwelling Spirit that is at the heart of each one of us. That voice of wisdom that we hear in the silence.
In the silence, your path is paved with gold, and all your dreams unfold. Love is there, peace is there, truth is there, God
Great interview, O wise one. Thank you. So this is the time of our service where we acknowledge that we live in an infinite and abundant flow of giving and receiving, and we are so incredibly grateful for the ongoing generosity of this community. We are going to be talking today at the Hug meeting. Another topic is of not passing the basket anymore, which personally I would love. So please do come to that, and please do also avail yourselves of all the ways you have to give to this community. And so many of you have sustained this community over the last 15 months, which has felt like 15 years. So I do want to encourage all of us to recognize the joy that comes from being part of that exchange of energy, right? Money is energy. So when we feel like we've received something, there's a joy to being able to give back and be in that constant cycle, that constant flow of giving and receiving. So thank you for your incredibly generous contributions in support of this community.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be.
Sing with us. Sing with us.
Let it be, let it be, let it be, and let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, and let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine on till tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Everybody. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, and let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be.
They have us so well trained. They say sing along, and we all sing along. Right? All right, let's stand now and share in our unity blessing. Oh, we are so lucky. You guys are awesome. All right, together, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in each and every one of you. Yes, we do. All right, let's sing the peace song. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And wherever God is, all is well. And wherever you are, all is well. Just listen to that inner voice of wisdom. Amen?
Amen.
All right, grab a drink, run to the potty, come back to the hug meeting. Bye-bye, Facebook and YouTube land.
He was oh so big and strong. His head could touch the sky, and he could fix all kinds of things and make them all work right, and figure out just how to make the darkest day seem bright. He rode us on the handlebars of his big shiny bike, and when we all got big enough, would follow on our trikes. We rode through town, up hills and down, and soon our legs grew strong, and he'd always let us keep up, although the way was long. But after I got older, it seemed I grew away, and I didn't care so much about what say. It took a really long time for me to realize that one of my life's greatest treasures is the love that still shines in his eyes. My daddy's always there for me whenever I am down, and I don't know what I'd have done if he hadn't been around. And though sometimes he couldn't show it, sometimes he couldn't say, I guess that I have always known that he loved me anyway. I guess that I have always known that he loved me anyway. I have to sing that on Father's Day for my daddy.